Okay. We are back. Now, last time we were all together, we still actually had Coach Tomlin as our head coach. So we have plenty to discuss and catch up on. Of course, I'm Arthur Moats, joined right now by the awesome panel that we always do. And we talking about none other than the doctor, Dr. T, TaNeisha. Shout out from at Really Flaw YouTube channel. The doctor's in the house. Always a pleasure to have her. And our world traveler. You might see him on somebody's exotic ski resort around somebody's country. You never know where he gonna pop up at. But I'm talking about none other than the WRAL Channel 5 producer in Raleigh, North Carolina, Mark Bergin in the building. It's good to see you, man. Are you back warm, man? I feel like I've been on vacation with you. All right,
Arthur.
Every time I see the, I'm like, you so cool, bro.
Arthur,
it looks cool.
I'm just happy they let me back in the country. I will say this: it was my first visit ever to Canada. Banff Sunshine, Lake Louise, stunning resorts. I always call my trip out west in the winter my winter sabbatical. This is the third year in a row I've done one. This one was the best to date. If you ever get chance to go, Arthur, do it. Don't think twice about it. Does not matter the time of year. Simply fantastic. I really don't have the words to describe like how stunning it is. And it's like if I ever need peace and serenity, I can just close my eyes and just imagine that view.
You'll be there.
Yo, let's go. I love that right there, man. That's what we needed. And shoot, man, shout out to you, though, because even while you were traveling abroad, you were still making sure that you kept us up to date on how you was feeling about all the things happening between Coach Tomlin leaving, Mike McCarthy joining, even the introductory press conference. Obviously, me and TaNeisha, we've been doing our own version of catching up and staying abreast of things. But since we all are officially here together, and now we've had time to allow, the Mike McCarthy press conference to kind of digest. Man, let's get right into what we actually took away from what he said, man. And we'll start with the doctor, Dr. TaNeisha.
Can I just say it was the first press conference I've watched for a Steelers head coach, and I don't know how long. And so I was like, this is so weird because I didn't know how he was going to handle this. And then, so I was watching it and I was taking notes, and there's a couple of things I noticed. It wasn't about what he said per se, except he did say something that caught my attention when he said we're going to keep the language the same. And that just triggered in my brain of like, that probably is going to help the players. But there's a moment where they asked him and Omar Khan a question, and he cracked like a little joke. And he was like, I'll let him go, I'll let him go because I don't know. I don't want him to say something stupid. And they both kind of giggled like school children. I loved it. I'm like, yes, because you don't do that unless you have a relationship with somebody where you just think they're funny or they always make jokes. And that moment stood out to me. I watched it the first time through and I just watched it. And then when I watched it the second time through, I noticed the same thing. And so those moments like that are the things I pay attention to, because you can't fake a relationship. You can't fake liking someone. You can't fake laughing and realizing you're in a press conference and you probably shouldn't be giggling like that. And I really liked that for their relationship. That actually made me feel the best. I was like, oh, they're laughing at each other. He likes his jokes. Okay. So anyways, that was the first thing I was like, that's totally not football related, but it's very football related because I like that they feel that comfortable with each other.
What about you, Mark? Man, what was something that you took away?
Well, it's been a long time since we last spoke, and the new world order of the world is this. Like, Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowl quarterback. Bill Belichick's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And so now the Steelers have a new head coach in Mike McCarthy. And let me also state this. I know he went with the clean-shaven look. I prefer Mike McCarthy with a beard. That's just my opinion. Now, in all seriousness, there were several takeaways I had. Number one really had nothing to do with Mike McCarthy himself, and it is that Art Rooney II does not want a rebuilding year, and that's why they bring in Mike McCarthy. I really don't know who Steelers fans think that they could have gotten, considering I know that this is a hot job. I know it is a coveted job. There's stability. A young coach can come in and raise his family and immerse himself in the Pittsburgh community. There were 10 vacancies in the NFL this year. So when I saw McCarthy got hired, it's like my initial instinct, I was like, they could have done way worse. I know that Chris Shula was out there and Nate Shieldhouse, But really, to me, what's way more important than who the head coach is what you're doing at quarterback. And this, to me, is really the crux of what today's discussion will be about, is that, do you want Aaron Rodgers back or not for 2026? Mike McCarthy even says, yes, I do. And for 2026, I really don't think there's much of a debate where Aaron Rodgers, even at the age of 42, he'll turn 43 in December. I really think for 2026, he probably is Pittsburgh's best option. However, what does that mean for the team in 2027, 2028, and 2029 and beyond? Otherwise, we're going to be having very similar conversations around this time next year in terms of how far this team can go, getting into the playoffs and then just getting crushed once they get there. That's my 2 cents worth. Arthur, back to you.
Let's go, Mark. Oh, how I've missed you, baby. And of course, always good to see you, TaNeisha. I always miss you as well. But to me, I mean, I think like what both of y'all said, I do like a lot. And Mark, I always love how you're big picture with this thing too. But you know, the thing that I always say whenever we're talking the big picture stuff, we got to look at New England, right? Nobody cares about what they've failed within the past 2 to 3 years, right? Even past 4 years. All we're talking about right now is if you tank, you're going to get a head coach, you're going to get a quarterback, and you're going to the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about Gerard Mayo. Nobody cares about Mac Jones. Nobody cares about any of that. It's just as simple as they went from Belichick, they sucked for a year, and now Vrabel's there, and now they're going to the Super Bowl. So I don't have to worry about 2-3 years down the line, man. You know this is a quick just turnaround, man. All right? At least that's how it's been communicated to me. But I guess the thing that really stood out to me, though, was his passion. I mean, I'm watching this dude talking. I'm like, bro is about to cry before he even gets through the first sentence. And oddly enough, and not to get on the sentimental thing, but it's like, I honestly could 100% understand that feeling. When you get a chance to put on a jersey or be a part of something that you've admired for so long from afar, and you've competed against it, you've heard about it, there's a certain respect and reverence that comes to the black and gold. So when you finally get a chance to, man, I'm going to get a chance to write my own legacy, put my own, spin on this here story, it does hit because you're thinking, you heard him talk, man, Mel Blunt's here. You saw the picture of the introduction. It's a Joey Porter there, but then you got the younger Joey Porter Jr. there. Like we talk about a Mel Blunt there. You got Mr. Rudy there. You got young Rooney in the building. It's like, man, all the different generations of importance of people that have mattered, the people that have, laid the foundation that even today we stand on their backs. It's like, man, when you're in that moment for the first time, it hits you. And I'm just watching that and I'm like, oh, this is a guy that cares. Because I've seen the introductory press conferences where it's so buttoned up or where it's so, let me just say whatever I'm supposed to say and I'm not going to give you anything else. This was a dude that's like, yo, I am a Pittsburgh guy through and through. All right. Right from Greenville, right up the road. Okay. Let me tell you, this is what it is to be. And I'm like, man, I think as a player, that resonates. Because it's like, yo, this is a guy that actually cares. I get the Nate Schulhouses and the Chris Shulers were the exciting names, but there are even some questions I have about them because we weren't the only team that they interviewed with. We weren't the only team that needed head coaches. And if those guys were so hot commodities and were so like, hey, man, surefire, that's Ben Johnson. Well, why did all these other teams pass up on them as well are some of the questions that I have. But that's for another discussion. But to me, I think that was, kind of my big thing. But since, Mark, you did bring it up about Rodgers, we did hear Mike McCarthy say that flat out, right? Yes, I want Aaron Rodgers back. So, TaNeisha, how you feel about that? Good decision, bad decision?
I don't mind. I don't think our problems last year were really Aaron Rodgers. I just feel like I don't mind Aaron Rodgers coming back. That's cool with me. I love cool, bring him back. I just want us to look different. And I don't know. The only thing that's concerning is obviously he's getting older. So what does a year older Aaron Rodgers look like? I mean, I don't really know. But there were moments last year where I thought, man, if Aaron Rodgers had been with us longer, that offense would have been ready. Because he was always ready. He was always on go. And it took them until the end of the year to realize, like, give the ball and turn and watch Aaron Rodgers. He's ready to snap sometimes. So I don't dislike him coming back. I do like that he already has a relationship with Mike McCarthy. I think that is tremendous. And I love it. And, I caught myself yesterday. It was the first day where I thought to myself, I understand how people say it's feeling very same. I understand that because there were certain moments where I felt myself feeling calm because it felt the same. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. I think we want to feel different, and we want to feel a jolt, and we want to feel all of these things. It did feel very same, but I think that's what happens when you feel like you have adults in the room. All adults kind of feel the same. They feel loving and support the good ones. They feel supportive and loving, and they understand and they communicate, and it did feel same to me. And I caught myself going yesterday, but I don't care if it feels same. I'm okay with that. Like, nobody says that you have to drastically change tremendously to win football games. No one has ever said that ever. So that's why I'm like, if it's Aaron Rodgers, if that's who they want, and that works for them. Okay, let's do that.
Okay. Now, as I hear you speaking, though, Mark, I'm gonna get to you in a second. You sounded like you're saying you love it, but then you're like, I got a lot of like hesitation, a little like undercut into it. What is the hesitation on it, though?
No, there's no hesitation. It was just a realization yesterday that I understood when people are like, this feels very same. This feels like we didn't make any changes.
Not the same part. I was talking about the Rodgers part. Oh. Yeah.
No, I mean, well, because he's older. Okay. And so, I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't. Every time he got hit last year, I remember being like, oh. Okay. And it's just, I felt like everything he did, I was like, ooh. And I just don't know if he wants to do that again. And if he does, sign me up for that. That's amazing. Okay. I just don't know if, so that's my hesitation, is like watching him every single game. I literally was like, oh gosh, don't hit him. So like bubble wrap around this man. Like, we need him. So yeah, so that's my only hesitation, is that I get worried because, I feel like sometimes he's fragile.
All right. And what about you, Mark, man? Are you on the do you want Rodgers back fence, man? Because we know I think it was Omar Khan was reported as saying that, he's going to have, or Aaron Rodgers gets pretty much a month to decide. And then from there, they need to know. Very different than last year, where we were waiting, it was July dang near before we knew if he was going to be showing up or not.
Yeah, with Aaron Rodgers and the cachet he's earned in this league as a 4-time MVP, he's a Super Bowl champion. The Steelers could put any type of deadline they want on it. I'm very wary that they'll actually abide by that deadline, because I do think Rodgers is their best bet for 2026. But to me, again, you're kicking that can down the road of who your quarterback is of the future. And even if Aaron Rodgers is your best bet for next year, maybe I'm being a victim of recency bias here. But when he went against formidable pass rushes against Houston and against Cleveland late in the year, he really, really struggled. Is that all on him? No, it's not. That's also with the context of the Cleveland game. They were out without DK Metcalf. So that's part of it. But to me, it's like, guys, what are we doing here in terms of trying to still figure out the quarterback position? And the flip side of that is this. If they go with a new quarterback this coming year, what it'll be like this, I think it's the 7th straight season where they'll have a different week 1 starter when you go back to Ben. And then it was Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and missing someone in there, Justin Fields, Rodgers last year. So you're going to have that change again. To me, that doesn't matter as much next year, though, considering you're bringing in an entirely new coaching staff. It's not like you've got Mike Tomlin and company to where that stays the same, but you have different quarterbacks. Figure out what will work with this coaching staff. For me, for 1 year, Rodgers is probably your answer, considering what else would be out there. Pittsburgh picks 21. They have 12 draft picks. Perhaps they could move up. I'm not sure who's out there in free agency. Could you trade for a guy? At least right now, I know what I've got with Aaron Rodgers. But again, to me, it's like that doesn't help solve and address your plan for future seasons. And I really think Pittsburgh needs to be cognizant of that. So for me, for 2026, okay, sure, Rodgers is probably your best option. But long term, I'll be honest with both of you, I don't think that solves what you actually need to solve with all this. We can talk coaches all we want to, X's and O's. Sometimes it's about the Joes, the actual players that are out there. And if you bring Aaron Rodgers back for another year, it does not solve your quarterback issue for beyond the 2026 season.
Now, Mark, I hear everything you just said right there. And I guess my pushback is, well, what would be the recommendation that you would have then? Because it does seem as if you're like really, really, not feeling the Rodgers option out of more so fear of what happens next year and the year after that. So how would you, if you got the sticks right now, what is your response to not kicking the can down the line?
I take those 12 draft picks that you stockpile and either move up in the draft and identify a prospect that you like. Now, look, we're just getting into the offseason now. We're, a little bit more than a week away from the Super Bowl. So we'll get into draft evals and who some of the top quarterbacks are. We'll get into all that. Certainly, if you're not picking in the top 5, you're probably not getting the guy that you really, really want. I'm wary that this isn't going to be a draft where we saw with Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or a draft where the Steelers got Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, and Eli Manning. Maybe you have to wait a year, but all of those draft picks that you have stockpiled, to me, that's valuable trade capital to identify the guy that you really want, whether it's the draft or if there's a veteran out there where you can look to another team to say, hey, it's not working for you quite that well here. We'll take this veteran off your hands, someone who's still younger. I want someone shy of 30. I don't want someone above the age of 30, but someone where it's finally we could say, this is the Steelers quarterback for 3 seasons. It doesn't even need to be elite level, but this can be the guy who you can rally around and build a team around, someone who is just a good quarterback. I know it's easier said than done. Arthur, to answer your question, I would use the draft picks that you have stockpiled and to identify a player to make a move.
Okay. I can dig that, man. I guess my pushback is always going to be, as you were furthering into your conversation right there, you're like, man, it doesn't have to be an elite guy. Just get a guy, you start building around it. To me, I feel like I'm wasting my time just doing that for the simple sake of doing it. If I don't really believe this a franchise guy, I don't want to invest too much around it. And that's why me personally, I don't mind where we're at right now with this, man, until you find that dude that you actually love, don't waste too many resources surrounding it, man. Use the rentals. And then when you find what you're actually in love with, then do that. Cause that's where, we're going to get into the draft stuff. But from a premature standpoint of when I know these quarterbacks that we're thinking of right now and everybody is in love with Fernando Mendoza, that doesn't move my needle in the least bit, man. So if that's who we're saying is the cream of the crop in this year's class, yeah. So now I'm looking at the free agency market. And once again, it's man, we'll dive into some of those options as well. But those options cost, money. And we know with that is a different conversation in terms of what we're willing to either spend or if we're going to package some of these draft picks and go get a guy off of another guy's roster. That's a different part of the conversation. But to me, I'm just not a fan of just doing stuff just to do stuff. And that's kind of how I perceive some of these younger coaches that were around this hiring cycle. Man, bring this guy in because of the name. And it's I like the name. But outside of that, where are the tangible things that we're looking at and saying, yes, this is why we feel confident, not, hey, man, this is just believing in Jesus. All right, it's blind faith, baby. All right, I can't see it, but it's just going to work because we're hoping it's going to. It's that doesn't work for me in this space. So I think that's where my pushback is with that. What about you, TaNeisha? How you feeling?
Man, I think that's why I feel like Rodgers is the best option unless they see something they like. I think if they see something they like and it's worth the effort, that they feel like it's worth the effort, I think you go for it. Because we all listen, it's no secret. Everybody knows the Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback. This isn't.
We've been saying this for years now too, TaNeisha. Yeah.
Seriously.
Right. This isn't new. This isn't
years.
Everybody knows. Yeah. And so for me, and they've swung and they've missed several times. And so I want to know what they want in a quarterback, and then you go do what it takes to make that happen.
Well, hang on. Let me push back here, TaNeisha. And let me just hop in really quickly. You say they swung and they missed. The only real swing the Steelers have taken post Roethlisberger was Kenny Pickett in the first round. When I'm talking about resources spent to bring in a quarterback.
Fair, but I think they thought the contract for Mitch Trubisky, now take it or leave it, I think they tried. They thought he was going to evolve. I think the problem with quarterbacks that I feel like we're seeing is they're not evolving like people thought they would. I mean, look at Sam Darnold. What is he with his third team? Fourth team?
Yeah.
And every team was like, he doesn't got it. He doesn't got it. They let him go. They let him go. They let him go. And he finally gets to a place where he's surrounded by talent. He's been able to focus on his skills and he's been able to get better. He's now in the Super Bowl. That's great for him.
I think fifth team.
Now let's look at Josh.
Let's
look at Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Josh Allen has been with the same team his entire career. Everybody admits that he's phenomenal. He's amazing. He's all these things. But where do we put him? Would you prefer a Sam Darnold or would you prefer a Josh Allen? My point is nobody really knows. And I think the problem is that every quarterback is completely different and you just don't know what's going to move that needle. And that's why for me, it's like, what are they looking for? Are they looking for a guy that they think is going to continue to get better? Are they looking for a guy that's like right now he's got it and we want what he has right now? Like, I don't know the answer to that because I'm not like a quarterback. I'm like, who's the quarterback? Can he throw the ball? Is he good? Oh God, he turns the ball over. He ain't it. Like I don't know how to evaluate quarterbacks in my football watching abilities. I don't know what they're actually looking for. Are we looking for a guy we can develop? Are we looking for a guy that has it? What are we looking for? Because I've seen them do different things at quarterback. But again, that was with a different coach. So now we have a new coach. So I'm like, what is he looking for? He had Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott? I mean, it's like, but he didn't, I don't think he drafted either one of those guys. So again, he came into that. So I don't even, what is McCarthy looking for? Or does he? And then he said in the press conference, having a quarterback, they need to be able to be mobile or move within the pocket. So escapability matters. That's not Aaron Rodgers. So that's why I'm like, what are we looking for?
Did you notice too? He said he had talked to Rodgers too. I think that's very important.
He said he talked to him.
If there's any possibility Rodgers comes back, to me that we're talking about a quarterback that the Steelers like. This is where Omar Khan, Andy Weidel need to get on the phone. They earn their bones and to be aggressive and to identify who are the quarterbacks realistically that you could go want. You say you might need to pay a premium plus. That's fine. Last offseason, the quarterback the Steelers really wanted was Matt Stafford. If we're being honest here, there were rumblings that they had called the Rams for him. And then the Rams were like, no, we're going to hang on to him. Very smart of them to do that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an obvious answer is my point. It's not going to be an obvious answer is my point. But we cannot keep doing this over and over and over again because the Steelers keep Rodgers. Maybe they get into the playoffs. Maybe they don't. They lose once they get there, and then we're having this same exact conversation next offseason. I say that because of what's happened in the last decade.
I feel you on that, but at the same time, Mark, to just continue to let it just go, that's not realistic because we talked about, everybody brings it up, the Patriots. So we've seen where, everybody is on a 1 to 2 year best case scenario. If you play great, you look great, you get to stay longer. If you don't, we're looking at Lamar Jackson saying, hey, is it 100% guarantee he's going to be the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens this year? We don't know. Why? Because, hey, man, it was kind of a little up and down year. And that's a dude that's coming off of being a 2-time MVP. This is the league that we live in, man. It is 1 year, best case 2 year. So going back, though, to the quarterback conversation, TaNeisha, I do enjoy the fact that, from your perspective, man, you felt like we swung on Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky's contract was 2 years, $14 million. That is not swinging on a quarterback. Not in the least bit. If that quarterback isn't getting $20 million, that is not a guy that they view as a legit first round or franchise caliber option. That is a bridge quarterback, best case scenario. That's just how we perceive that, right? And if you look at how quickly they moved off of Mr. Trubisky to Kenny Pickett, that also lets you know that's how they view that as well. If he's getting $20 million, you can boo till the cows come home. That guy is going to get every opportunity at least to week 10. Man, we pulled that plug by what? Week 3? Week 4?
Well,
let's be real.
Arthur, right? To your point, too, because there's levels to all of this. That 2023 season when the Colts left the Steelers for dead in that Saturday night game, and it's like, why isn't Mason Rudolph playing? Yeah. Trubisky was making something, I think it was like $8 million that year, and Mason Rudolph was making $1 million. And so that was the reason. That was the reason why it was like, okay, finally, last ditch effort. let's see what
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph can do.
We haven't spent like that, man.
My point is, like, let's take another swing at it. Like, if you can't knock one out of the park unless you swing for the fences. So let's swing for the fences. And look, if we have to wait one more offseason to do that, if next year's draft is better, fine. But this stasis of where the Steelers are at, of continuing to kick the can down the road. When the Ravens brought in Lamar Jackson, there was no guarantee that he was going to develop into a 2-time MVP.
No.
The same thing with the Bengals with Burrow. They couldn't. I mean, they still can't really protect him, but really as a rookie.
But Burrow was still a dude, though, coming out. Burrow, we knew way more about Burrow than we did Lamar.
Agreed.
Like, we know this, man.
Agreed. But, and even Cleveland, way back in the day, bringing in Baker Mayfield, it was the division where it's like it might take a year or two to develop these quarterbacks, but from a quarterback standpoint, it's like, you know, they get younger and younger, and we just get older and older. And again, the Steelers keep kicking that can down the road instead of figuring that, like really, really trying to figure that out. And it's like,
but pushing back real quick though, Mark, what matters more, the age part of the quarterback position for the proverbial like security, or who's actually winning? Because when we go over that same, 6, 7, however long we want to go back, whether it's when Lamar first came in or when Joe first came in, it's like you're going to see that even with all of their stability at that one position and our lack of stability there, we still are winning. We're still competing with that. And that's the only thing to me that, as I hear it, it's like, man, are we just enamored with the names of those players and just the excitement that comes with that? But when we're all looking and we're all saying, well, hey, if we're going to say it's Super Bowl or nothing, we're all literally in the exact same space. And if that's the case,
I mean,
so that's my only, it's like, I feel like, right. But I feel like at times though, with this Steeler Nation, we will make our situation way more dire, way more, on this end of the spectrum. And then when we look up, it's like, well, if we're this and you're telling me those teams aren't this, well, why are, our track record better than their track record? Like, that's my only like pushback with that thing, man.
It goes back to, for Rodgers specifically, in the situation we're at in the here and now, his age going up against formidable pass rushes, it scared me late in the season, and it didn't look good offensively in terms of that escapability. We've talked about how Rodgers is the master of the hard count in terms of giving his offensive linemen a chance. But even despite all of his wizardry and understanding how to play the quarterback position and all the nuances of that, given his age, like the fact that he played in 16 of the 17 regular season games, that was more than I expected. He played at a higher level than I expected. But
so then what does that say then?
That again, it's against the best of the best and against the pass rush, Arthur. That's where it's like you got to go with another option. That's just my 2 cents worth.
Okay. And just literally for the sake of youth, not for the sake of skill, though. Just want to make sure that's the final part of it.
No, it's the mobility. Like you see.
So when I say youth, that's what I'm referring to. Like, it's not because none of these quarterbacks coming out are going to be better passers of the football or better minds quarterback wise. So we're literally saying though, and TaNeisha, I heard this from you as well. It's more so the age, is he going to be able to sustain it? Even though we saw him play 16 games this season, even though he's been our best quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger left, all of these things included, it's like, nah, man. Just the thought of, man, what if it gets hit too hard? What if, man, when I'm watching it versus Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, it's like, man, I'm nervous. It's like, man, they made Josh Allen look like that too. Josh Allen, reigning MVP still currently right now. Finals for another MVP. It's like, yeah, great pass rush. That's part of why we got upset with who? Our pass rush. Because they weren't doing that consistently. So I don't look at that as a Rodgers problem. That's why you pay those type of dudes that. And that's also why you go and get a Troy Fautanu and why you bring in a Broderick or a Dylan Cook or Ange Peter, whoever it is. And you pray that, man, those guys can block those guys. That to me is more of the convo. But I guess that's the age part doesn't make me overly fearful or make me run to a youthful person just because this youthful guy can run. When I'm saying to myself, you still have to throw this football. You're still going to have to be protected. And if we don't have that figured out, it really doesn't matter how young this quarterback is. We're still going to be in the same situation, probably worse because of their lack of ball security, their lack of understanding how to use the hard count, their lack of no pride, throw it in the dirt, which we would joke about at times, right? Man, hey, Rodgers threw it to the ground. Thank God he didn't get hit, right? Those are the things that come with playing quarterback. Have zero to do with can you run fast or not.
Yeah.
So
and the explosive plays and explosive players. I'm with you there, Arthur. I'm with you there. TaNeisha, hop in.
Well, and I also think multiple things can be true though. I mean, I think we always have a situation where we're like, yes, I prefer a more youthful developing player that I think is going to continue to get better through his career. Whereas Aaron Rodgers at some point, he's just not going to have it anymore.
Absolutely.
Because that's just how it goes. And so there's a part of this where you're playing a little bit of Russian roulette where you're like, is this the year he doesn't have it anymore? When does it run out? Because I was like you, Mark. I'm like, wow, he played a lot of games this year. He actually played better than I thought he would play this year. I was actually very impressed with him. And because of how long he's been playing football, there is a part of this where you're like, when is that time going to come? We're all going to look at each other and be like, was that just a duck? Like, what just happened with that throw? So there's that. But then there's the flip side of this where it's like, okay, do we want to spend that time to develop and have somebody learn and have somebody grow and do the things? I think that what we have over the Ravens and the Bengals is that we haven't spent all of that money into our quarterback position. So we can spend money elsewhere, and that makes us better than them in other positions. And I think that helps us because, yes, they have the better quarterback. They have the better quarterbacks, but where they lack everywhere else, we're actually really good there. And so there's like this weird matchup where it's like, can they out quarterback us? Yeah, they can. That's fine. But we can out everything else them. And I think that's what gives us the advantage. So it's like when you think back, it's like, it's weird because we all know we need a quarterback. We all know that. But then there's a part of me where it's like, because I'm hearing you guys talking and I'm like, yes, we need that. And then I start to think, I have this internal thing with quarterbacks where I feel like, because I don't think Drake May has been this spectacular quarterback player over the past whatever months. I know what his numbers say, but I'm just saying he's doing enough for his team to win. And that's good enough. And so for me, that's where I get torn, where it's like, do I want a guy where I could be like that? Do I want Joe Burrow? Sure. Give me Joe Burrow. But I also see where other guys can get it done by not being the best, the everything. So that's why it's so hard because I feel like I could go either way with this because it's like there's no path to how we know if somebody's going to be good or not. We just don't know. And it's like, it's hard to figure it out.
Now, shoot, what I wanted to say, though, is this, though, when we're talking overall about, the importance of, like you said, a Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson, but yet we've seen how our overall team makeup can, kind of offset that. Why is it that we all still feel so much more comfortable just having a Joe Burrow on the roster or having a Lamar Jackson on the roster, even though we're all going to say what you just said? Because the Bengals roster, player for player, it's only 3 players that we're going to surefire say we want over our guys, right?
Yeah,
Other than that, it's like, hey, bro, it's not a lot over there. But yet people will feel so much more confident in Cincinnati when the season starts solely because Joe Burrow is there. And we're going to have, the doubters for us because we don't have Joe Burrow.
Right.
To me,
which one matters more?
To me, it's because Joe Burrow has been to a Super Bowl. I'll say this about Lamar. I know the 2-time MVP. I know all the playoff stuff's not entirely on him. What's Lamar, 28, 29 years old?
Yeah.
We're going to start to see a regression because if 30 is ancient for a running back and he is a running quarterback, we'll see this year with Jesse Minter and company, and maybe he has a redemption year. Maybe Lamar was hurt or injured more than we know. We're going to start to see a regression with Lamar, at least in terms of his running ability. He's improved a lot as a passer, but that's not what makes Lamar Lamar. To answer your question, Arthur, it's the playoff success. It's the playoff wins. With Burrow specifically, it's because he's been to a Super Bowl. That's the difference.
Yeah. Now, respect on that. And for sure, and when he's been healthy, he's looked great. But we also, as much as we're concerned about Aaron Rodgers and his health, it's like Joe Burrow hasn't been the most healthy quarterback since coming into the NFL. So I get that. I definitely do, man. But I'm just torn with it. Obviously, we would want the perfect world. And the perfect world is like we see in college, right? Or even in high school. Man, I got my dream quarterback. I have all my pieces around it, and we're good to go. Unfortunately, that isn't how it works. So we're all going to be stuck trying to figure out, man, do we lean more on quarterback, putting more resources, more assets, whether it's draft capital, whether it's the salary cap on that, and then we kind of let the chips fall where they may everywhere else? Or is it, man, we're going to put a lot more stock in the pieces around it and try to make do at quarterback? Now, making do at quarterback, from my perspective, is what we've done these past 5-6 years, right? Mm-hmm. Man, veteran dude, free agent dude, you swung on a Kenny Pickett. That to me was a real attempt because it was a first round investment, right? But outside of that, we haven't swung again. Now, is there a quarterback in this upcoming draft? Everybody's going to have their feelings about that. Is there a guy in free agency potentially that you're saying, you know what, he's a guy that I think is worth swinging on? We'll have that conversation when it happens as well. But I just think that this team, man, with McCarthy here, I'm not, and maybe I'm an outlier with this, I'm not as pressed on having to find the absolute most talented guy, because I feel like I finally have a guy that knows how to coach the position. Heck, when we talk about McCarthy's track record, he was there for Aaron Rodgers' beginning. When Rodgers was sitting on the bench behind Brett Favre, McCarthy was still in that thing. So I've seen him have a Rodgers from start to finish, and we know how Rodgers looked at Cal. I've seen him have Dak, and when he was with Dak, he brought Dak to MVP level. I've seen that. So I don't necessarily feel like I have to have the all-world type talent the same way when I look at Sean Payton and Bo Nix. It's like, yo, it doesn't have to be as talented and as gifted as these other guys if I have a guy that I feel like knows how to architect this thing. And if my belief was in Coach Tomlin on the defense side of the ball, being able to get the most out of those guys, the James Pierres of the world, right? Shoot, the Robert Spillanes of the world. Heck, even myself, right? It's like, man, Mike McCarthy is that, but on offense. So I guess for me, I have more confidence in, man, build this team up around it. But if it is a Rodgers, I could cook with that. If it's a mid-level tier free agent, I think I can still cook with that because of McCarthy and because of that system and the proven, production that we've seen, for 10, 15 years now. So, TaNeisha, since, we finally have, talked about this whole quarterback situation, man, do we like it? Do we not like it? Young, old? Do you build up around the roster and, cut corners at quarterback, or do you spend whatever you have to spend at quarterback and then kind of go whichever way you go elsewhere? I'm with all of those conversations, and trust me, man, it's not going to stop, right? We're going to continue to have these conversations as we get into the combine, free agency, draft, etc. But what I want to talk to with both of you guys on the back end of this thing is this: just as we sit here today, does this move signal evolution, or is this just us staying with our tradition, us staying where we are, us, this is the Steeler way, guys? Which one is this for you guys? Because some people are going to look at this as a change, as something drastic. Others are going to say, man, this is literally, we just changed the color outfit, but it's the same exact person in this day, man.
I personally think it's a change in philosophy. And because now we have an offensive guy, and we've never had that. And just that alone is a change, is different, is evolution. Mm-hmm. Now, how far are we evolving? That's a question for a different day. But I think the standard answer is yes, we're definitely evolving. We have an offensive coach that is new for us. And we don't know what that's going to look like in Pittsburgh. And because we all know, too, offenses, usually that's where you spend money. That's also different. So I don't know. I do think it's a change. I do think it is evolution. I don't know how far on the spectrum I'm willing to say. Is it 5 degrees of separation? Is it 20 degrees of separation? I don't know that, but I do think it's a foundational philosophy change for sure.
Okay. What about you, Mark? How you feeling about it, man?
I had a little bit of a different thought, but I'll say this, though, too. When I first heard the news and I didn't consume any other content, it was like, yeah, that makes sense. And it made sense because I had read about Mike McCarthy's relationship with Omar Khan and Andy Weidel when they were members of the Saints way back in the day. And then it's like online, it's like, oh, well, they didn't bring in the young coach. Would you want a first-time head coach in the NFL when we've had the bulk of this conversation trying to figure out what Pittsburgh's doing at quarterback? when that's still a huge question mark this offseason. With Mike McCarthy, there's a lot more stability there. So, like, I get that you might have to get worse to get better. I even said this on the show, but to me, the Steelers could have done way worse at the head coaching position. And again, especially because, look, I know Pittsburgh's a coveted job, but when there's 10 vacancies, you're not going to get, again, Arthur, you mentioned Ben Johnson earlier in this conversation. To me, there wasn't that surefire home run coach that every single team wanted in this coaching cycle. So when you come away with Mike McCarthy, it might not knock your socks off, but to me, it's like they could have done much, much worse in this situation. And that's just my opinion. You might say I'm drinking the Yinzer Kool-Aid. You might call me a homer, but I at least would give this a shot because he has had success both in Dallas and Green Bay. And TaNeisha, to your point too, the levels of success, the degrees of success, that can be debated, but there's no disputing that the fact that he is a winning head coach in the National Football League. There's no disputing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And I think, perception versus reality. When we're talking Ben Johnson, man, not only was he the hottest commodity, he was also like the first coach hired when the hiring circuit opened up. It was like, hey, man, everybody knows that's the guy that's taking that job. If he wants that job, well, he could take that job. But we knew he was going to get first dibs. That was how, I guess, Nate Schillhouse and Chris Shula were being talked about. I know from my perspective, that's how I felt hearing about the show. I was like, man, you go from never hearing about a kid to now he is the hottest thing, the best thing since sliced bread. And if you have any questions about him, you're a homer and you're tripping, man. You're stuck in your old ways. And it's like, well, I'm just saying he's a pass game coordinator. Can I just wait to see something? Right.
Arthur, can I hop in here too? Because you mentioned the other teams that didn't hire those coaches either.
Yeah.
Just because they coached on Sean McVay's staff doesn't make them Sean McVay. I feel like it's like, yes, we want what we can't have. We want the young, flashy, innovative offense. Just because they were on that coaching staff doesn't necessarily say, oh, they're going to have the same level of success that Sean McVay's had. And it's just like everyone just sees the upside versus something that is proven. And so, again, whether we're having the same conversation a year from now, I know you at least can be competitive with Mike McCarthy and with what the Steelers have got versus to say, oh, well, we bring in this young upstart hotshot coach that, let's be honest, we have no idea if they're going to achieve any type of success, even half the success that Sean McVay has had as a head coach in this league. Drives me nuts.
Come on, Mark, talk your talk, Mark, I feel like you've been listening, man. That's how I be feeling every time. I'm like, yo, just because you were part of the Temptations, come on, man. They ain't gonna see you, Otis. Stop this, man. You gotta stop this, all right? So I'm with you on that, all right? McCarthy has been the front man. He's been the leader. Not only has he been that, he's actually won a championship. He's won a Super Bowl. That alone gives me so much more confidence. I get the whole, man, is he past his prime or not, right? Because he's older. But the other pushback to that is this young guy even going to be good enough to even scratch the surface of what McCarthy has accomplished at this level? Everybody's going to have their, lane of where they kind of, fall in with that. But I guess for me, man, to finish up the evolution versus tradition, I also agree. I do feel like it's evolution in the sense of the mind, right? We have been defense. Heck, our past 3 hires have been defense. Bill Cowher, Chuck Noll, Mike Tomlin. Man, if we're saying the times have evolved, if we're saying that, man, you can no longer just rely exclusively on defense, you need to be able to score. You need to be able to put points up on the board. You need to be able to create concepts. You need to be able to develop quarterbacks. Well, regardless of the age that McCarthy is, he signals that. McCarthy signals, man, we're trying to be offensive minded going forward. He signals that, man, we're going to have better quarterback play. He signals that, man, we're going to have concepts that feature the middle of the field. We're going to have concepts where, hey, if this is my best receiver and I know, okay, he struggles to beat press one-on-one. Well, watch how I use CeeDee Lamb, motion him in here to the 3 receiver spot off ball so you can't get hands on him. And then I'm going to have him burst out running these different routes. That's what McCarthy was doing in Dallas, right? certain things that we would complain about with DK in terms of his lack of ability to be consistent in certain spaces. And we said, man, well, maybe you could do certain things to scheme open, but hey, man, Arthur Smith is a little bit more condensed with how he wants to attack. That's not McCarthy. McCarthy is a better version of what we're talking about, even with Arthur Smith. And we said Arthur Smith has been our best OC since Todd Haley. So it's like when I'm looking at where we're going with this thing, it's like, I do feel like we're stepping in the right direction. I do feel like we are going in a different direction too than what we've been accustomed to. Now we're going to see what that, produces. If it's actually a postseason win, if it's actually a Super Bowl appearance, heck, if it's actually getting that 7th Lombardi, we're going to find that out. And I think that's the fun part from, where we sit. But I do agree, though, that this does track a little bit more evolution than just tradition because of it being a retread, because of it being an older guy, because of it being a name that we know. Just because you know it and just because you're familiar with it, it does not mean that you're staying status quo. And I think that that's something that we got to kind of be able to differentiate between the two of those.
And he said they were going to do it. I was going to say, he said they were going to do it. He mentioned the 7th Lombardi in his opening news conference.
Facts.
Said that they were going to keep the 3-4 defense too. I mean, I had a bunch of notes from just things that they said. I hope Mike Tomlin left him an Iron City beer at the facility in Pittsburgh as well. No, that's a really cool tradition. You can laugh all you want to go from Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher, Bill Cowher to Mike Tomlin. I hope that tradition lives on with Pittsburgh Steelers head coaches. I really do.
Get him a little Iron City. Yeah, let's get it.
The other thing I like too is I feel like if he isn't successful, he's going to think he let the city down. And I think that matters. Listening to him talk yesterday, I understood why they liked him. He loves the organization. He said, now we can all actually wear the gear that we always had. that means you're spending money in this organization. Yeah, that you can't wear this jersey because somebody's going to come out and be like, oh my God, he's coaching for Dallas and here he is in a Steelers shirt. But again, it's those little things where that's family. That he has a connection to this organization because it's home. And if any of us have ever loved something so much where it just feels like home, you know what that feels like. And you can't escape that feeling because you're willing to do whatever it takes to protect that feeling. And I love that. I didn't realize how passionate he was. I knew he was from Pittsburgh, but everybody that's from Pittsburgh doesn't feel that way. He was like, this is my city. I was born here, and he did. And I loved that too. In my notes, I wrote, oh, he really loves it. And he kept going back and forth. And I think that matters because now it's about pride. And I think when you play for pride, it's a lot different when you're playing for a job. You're playing you want to make this right. You want to do something. And everybody knows the city wants, I'm there. Everybody knows the city wants their 7th Super Bowl. Can you imagine if he's the guy that gets to deliver that, the guy that's from there, the guy that secretly probably all along has been like, man, I love it here. I really love it. So I don't know. I just think it's cool. And the world has a weird stuff of working its way out. So I'm just fascinated to see what he does and what they do and what other philosophies are going to change now.
Did either of you see the BTS photo, and I mean behind the scenes, not the Korean boy bands, of McCarthy and his family? Did you see that? There were maybe a dozen or so members of the McCarthy family with him at that news conference. And it's just that to me, you could see where it was okay, you understand the connection he has and the understanding of what it means to be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, TaNeisha, to your point too, it was the same thing with Bill Cowher back in the day, given his roots to the area as well. So I'm not saying Mike McCarthy is going to have a similar run as Bill Cowher, but just what it means to each of those guys to be able to coach their hometown teams. Whether you like Mike McCarthy or not, it's an amazing opportunity.
Can I ask
facts
you guys a
on that,
question?
man. Go for it.
Has
Heck
anybody ever come out and said they don't like Mike McCarthy? Or is everybody more concerned that it's just more of the same? I haven't seen anybody come out and actually say they don't like him as a coach, unless I've missed something. Or is it that they just wanted something different?
Honestly, I think it's a lot of the baggage that's left behind in the aftermath of, okay, how things ended in Green Bay, but then really Dallas. I mean, that's a whole, we could stay here till sundown talking about why the Dallas Cowboys haven't, what is it, made an NFC championship game since the mid 90s. I mean, it's been a long time. So it's like to pin that all on McCarthy. I get that he was a coach there for several years, but his teams were successful. I mean, again, Super Bowl successful? No, but consistently in the playoffs. And so I think it's that consistency of great, you make the playoffs, but once you're there, what you actually do, I think that's the way bigger concern in terms of the stasis, in terms of what you've had in the last decade or so with Mike Tomlin and company with the Steelers. I think that's it's playing the results, and whether that's fair or not to both Mike Tomlin or Mike McCarthy, I think that can very much be debated. But that's what it is, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, from my perspective, I just see the whole, because it's not in their control, they have an issue with it.
Okay.
I wanted Shieldhouse. So because you didn't go Shieldhouse, you're just doing the same old Steeler thing. Man, we go from Black Mike to White Mike. That's all we're doing. I hate the hire. Man, he had all that talent in Dallas. He never won a Super Bowl. Man, he only won one Super Bowl in all his times. Man, he only went to one. It's like, I see that. But it's once again, it's like, well, okay, if you're going to use his history and his coaching success as a, reason why it's a knock on him, very similar to what we talked about with Coach Tomlin. Well, what's the case then that you make for the guys that have zero resume? Right. The guys that have never had the sticks, the guys that have never led a team meeting room before. Just because you know how to call X's and O's has zero to do with you leading a organization. If that's the case, you should stay as a pass game coordinator. You should stay as an offensive coordinator, because head coach is very different. And Arthur Smith is a prime example of that. Tennessee Titans success. Heck, here success. Heck, even where he's about to go at Ohio State and have success. Very different than Atlanta, because Atlanta, he was the head guy. It's a lot more that goes into it than just, man, let me focus on this and just this. So, and that's just one side. I mean, I ain't gonna go there. That's just one side, right? So when I think of all of that, it's just like, man, that's the negative or the pushback that I see towards McCarthy. I don't think people are gonna just flat out say, I hate the hire, because once again, you're going to look crazy to people that have done this thing. And it's no different than when people would say Coach Tomlin is a terrible coach or he doesn't know how to win. It's like, you look plumb foolish when you say that to a person that has done this as a profession, because that is not that. In fact, that's a great guy. Same with McCarthy. It's like, man, you can say a lot about, man, I want to win a Super Bowl, and we'll come back with the same pushback. It's not even 50 dudes walking this earth that have coached Super Bowl teams. So it's a lot of us that are going to be, looking at these guys and saying, he came up short. Everybody comes up short. That's this thing. So in the midst of it, if we're all coming up short, what are you doing to stay relevant? How do you survive 15, 16, 17 years? You got to be a butt kicker. You have to win a ton of games. All right. And that is definitely what McCarthy does. The same way Coach Tomlin does. Now we'll see, man, what that looks like postseason, but that's the pushback that I've seen towards him versus, man, I think he just sucks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I was just saying, I haven't seen, usually people by this point, we have videos and showing clips and clip ups and storylines and clippings. And we, usually people really dig. And then when they find it, we start to see all I just haven't seen that. So that's why
But you still have the people that are still trying to get off their Coach T stuff too. So it's like, I don't know if they're fully transition. They hate McCarthy just yet. It's like, I don't know. Processing it.
Okay. Or maybe.
Well,
okay.
I think a lot of what happened too is I do think that there's a segment of the fan base that was time with Mike Tomlin. I'll say this, towards the end, it was like, I think a change needed to be made. Steelers, him, mutually move on. But then to say, this is what you wind up with, I think a lot of people were like, well, if we were going to get rid of Coach T, let's go with the young guy. And it's like, well, would you still have had it the same way, knowing that it turned out this way? And so I think there's also that reality as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I was just curious.
But at the end of it, you know how it goes too. It's like, man, when you win, all the haters will be the same ones that love you. And then when you lose, the same ones that tell you the best thing are going to be the main ones crucifying you. But they're passionate. Shout out to the fans. Shout out to the fans.
You know what I can't wait for? and maybe I'm getting out over my skis here, if you will. See what I did there? Mark Bergen's half-baked idea. Now, as we get into this offseason, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Say Aaron Rodgers decides, you know what? It's been a great career. I decided to hang it up. We're talking about free agency quarterbacks and who's out there. It's kind of a whelming list, a little bit underwhelming. Joe Flacco is going to be out there, and he can complete the AFC North loop. Joe Flacco is the next starter of the Pittsburgh Steelers, or at least on this roster. We got to get creative because if Rodgers decides he wants to retire, or Rodgers could say, hey, I want to go to another team and I want to play. Pittsburgh at quarterback, like we even if you are pie in the sky and an optimist, glass half full for Mike McCarthy, if you went into next season with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, yeah, you're giggling about it, TaNeisha. It's like, oh man.
I thought Will Howard was already he's proven. Yeah, I'm not concerned. They already told me that. I've seen that on the internet.
Future Super Bowl MVP.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we already have our quarterback, and this is all a mute point because he's already there, ready to go. Haven't seen him take a single snap in the NFL in any capacity, but he is the guy.
I'm going to name some names off this free agent list just so it's like we don't even need to discuss. Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco I mentioned, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mitch Trubisky, Case Keenum, Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, Josh Johnson, Brandon Allen, Malik Willis, Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, Gardner Minshew, Brett Rippon. Like, that's... Those are your 2026 free agent quarterbacks. Brett Rippon.
Mark, I like how you trying to say with more confidence. Like, said, Brett Rippon, come on, bro. It's Brett Rippon, bro. You don't know Brett Rippon? Come on, bro.
Brett Rippon is the quarterback of the Colts who... at this point, with respect, is probably more of a coach at this point because they brought in 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who hadn't played in 5 years, and Phillip Rivers was the quarterback of the Colts down the stretch. So that's Brett Rippon. The Steelers can bring him in. He's a free agent.
It's Brett freaking Rippon, TaNeisha. It's Brett Rippon, all right? You need to know who Brett Rippon is, period.
Yeah, my bad. Oh, my. I was like,
hey, Mark, you funny for that, bro. It was Brett Rippon. No, Brett, come on, man.
You did repeat it as if, like, I was supposed to know who that is. Like, I have no clue who that is. If that man walked in front of me, I wouldn't even know. I would be like,
that is the free agent quarterback. So keep that in mind when you're having the Rodgers discussion. Of what is out there.
But after that list, sign me up for Rodgers.
You said Flacco? Can I call you? You said Joe Flacco? You started with Joe Flacco. You know what?
I just
bring
think
another
it would
old
make
guy.
A great swan song of, hey, he's completed the AFC North loop, and we get another quarterback in his 40s. Yeah. I mean, crazier things have happened. That's my half-baked idea.
Hey, look, as much as I hate it, I love it at the same time. Okay? As much as I hate it, I love it. And the other thing is this. He would be very, very cheap. So we can still do whatever else we want to do. It would be very, very cheap. Now, I'm not about to go over here and make no strong case for Joe Flacco coming here and being quarterback. I only got room for one old quarterback, and that's Rodgers. Okay? I don't have enough capacity in me right now for two old quarterback arguments. All right?
Hey, but do you think that Rodgers would want to come back? What did he make? It was like 16 this past year. It was less than 20 this last year. Is he signing up for the same thing with the new coaching staff too? Like that's another thing where it's like
I think we say new coaching staff, but is it really a new coaching staff when he's going back to his
got
head
the familiarity?
Coach? Yeah. And that's the one thing that I could attest to. It's like, man, regardless of how much the coordinators and position coaches change, as long as your head guy is still the head guy, the overall feeling is going to feel very similar. No different, man. If Coach Tom were to walk back in there, if I were to go find Chan Gailey or Doug Marrone, it's like, if that is still the guy that's running the building, it's going to have their flavor, their feel for it. And if you're a guy that enjoyed that, you're going to feel more comfortable and you're going to feel fine in that scenario versus who is my position coach? Let me just talk because it's like, man, I got the head guy. As long as I got the head guy, I got full power to just whatever I'm trying to get done. I got that line of communication. So unless their relationship is strained, I think that this is more of a benefit for Rodgers potentially coming back versus it being the alternative. And that's why I don't necessarily see Rodgers being as enthused to go play elsewhere. Whereas I do think with McCarthy being here specifically, that's a lot more intriguing because of, man, I know exactly who this guy is and he knows exactly who I am, in that relationship and just trust is there, versus when you go to a new team, you have to prove in some way, shape, or form that you still can. And when you don't have any foundation, any relationship, it's just a different task. It's a different ask. Whereas for Rodgers, he's not going to feel that level of, I have to show that I'm responsible, that I can handle criticism, that I can, practice like this, that I'm healthy, like, because you already have that built up already. So I think that this would actually be a pro for him in that space.
And the familiarity with his peers, and when his peers, I mean the players on the roster.
The players, yep. DK, Calvin and stuff, yeah.
That's for me, that's the selling point, is another year with a lot of the same. And there was something else McCarthy said. I was checking my phone that he said in his press conference that I never thought about, as he said, one of the things he thought about before he accepted the job was to see who was going to be left on the roster. And I thought that was interesting because we always think about coaches coming in, making changes and who they're going to bring and what it's going to look like and what they're going to do. I don't know if not saying no one's ever said it, I don't know if I ever remember a coach really doubling down on, okay, I wanted to see who was going to be here. What he basically is saying is, I want to see who my foundation is, and I want to see if I like what that looks like. I like what that feels like. And I thought that was an interesting comment because Steelers Nation thinks our roster is awful. So it was interesting to hear him say, I looked at who was going to be here, and I liked those pieces. And maybe it's coaches speak. Maybe we'll never know. But I just thought that was an interesting thing that he even said it, that he even wrote that down to say, or that it came to his mind that he said that.
Now, facts on that. Facts on that. Now, since we're on the back end of this day, man, we're going to simply get to where I need to go. We done had our half bakes. We done talked about the good stuff and everything in between. So now it's time for some final word action. TaNeisha. Yeah. Since we started out with you, and we're being gentlemen today, I'm going with Mark first, all right? Mark, give me the final word, Mark. What you got for me, Mark? Yes. Come on, broski.
I'm not going to lie to our viewing audience. I did really like the Jesse Minter hire to Baltimore. I think that's a solid move for them. As soon as I saw it, it was like, dang, maybe this was the kind of coach we wanted in Pittsburgh. However, and I say this with respect to Todd Monken in Cleveland, I'm not shaking in my boots over that move. So considering a lot of the change that we're going to see in the AFC North this year, 3 of the 4 teams have new coaches. We know what to expect from Cincinnati of what they've had with Zach Taylor and company. Steelers Nation, we can be in a lot worse spot than we're in right now. And to me, the next question, is Aaron Rodgers coming back? And if he is, if he isn't, if he is not, what are your other options? Because to me, we could talk till we're blue in the faces about the X's and O's with the coaches. It's a lot of times about the Joes on the field, what you're doing at quarterback. That to me is going to be even more important, I would argue, than who the head coach is. That question, we've got a lot of time between now and the offseason. And look, I know the Steelers could give Aaron Rodgers a month deadline. I think it's going to go on longer than that. Hopefully not quite into the summer of what we saw this last go-round. But that is my 2 cents worth. What happens at quarterback is the next thing that I'm going to have my eye on between now, Super Bowl, and as we get into the offseason.
Let's go. Now, let's go. What about you, TaNeisha, the doctor?
I am going to say something that no one's going to probably like. I think we need to exercise a little bit of patience. I think we need to enjoy the build. I think we need to enjoy putting this puzzle together. And I think we need to set back and see what happens. I think we're so used to just having a decision and making it. We don't play a single game until September. As of the recording of this, it is January. So my point is like, there's so many things that can happen, will happen, might happen, get close to happening, will leak, will come out, all of those different things. And I think that we need to see what this is going to look like, because it's hard to have conversations about things we don't know. And then literally tomorrow we do know. And we're like, oh, okay, that's a change of pace. And like, let's be patient. Let's exercise that thing in us that we don't like because we're a microwave society that we always want to react. Let's not react. Maybe let's just take a deep breath. Let's see what is going on. You know why? Because we can. And we haven't always had that. We've always usually just been on go. And it's like, what's happening next? We need it. And it's like, let's just hold on a minute. Let's see what Aaron Rodgers famously said, RELAX, like relax. Let's do that. Let's try it. Let's just take a deep breath for a few months because we can. No one's running on the field to play a single down in the NFL for the Pittsburgh Steelers anytime soon. So I think we need to like just see what is going to happen before we make these big grandstanding, oh, we suck, we're gonna win. Somebody on Twitter yesterday was like, oh gosh, we'll be lucky if we win 3 games. I'm like, the new season hasn't even started technically. Like free agency hasn't, like,
she said we ain't even got to the league year yet.
Yeah, we still have a Super Bowl to play.
We have a Super Bowl, like it hasn't even started yet, and everyone 3 games. I'm like, how do you even know who's going to be on the team? Respectfully. So, anyways, I think this is the time where we just need to go. Okay, we have a coach, we have somebody that can lead us, we have somebody that knows how to lead men. Check, we got that. We don't have to worry about if McCarthy knows how to run a meeting. We got that. Now it's like, let's see what this is going to look like. Why not?
TaNeisha, if we've established anything in this conversation, I'll take a Steelers jersey, men's media, and Brett Rippin. Let's do it, baby.
Who is that? I have to see what he looks like. Brett Rippin with an R?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Rippin. Oh, I
don't know about both of you. I missed this.
It's R-Y. You got that. Okay. If y'all Googled this man and saw the first picture that came up, like, they are so disrespectful. They're so disrespectful.
He's an NFL quarterback.
He's an NFL guy.
But if you Google what first came up, you would be like, what in the world? Okay. That I've never seen this guy a day in my life. Wow. Okay. All right, Brett Rippin. Let's go.
There it is.
Listen, can he escape out of the pocket? Can he run around? Shout
out to old Brett, man. All right. Shout out to Brett wherever you are. Hopefully you're having a great day today. All right. Hopefully you have an extra great day. But for everybody else, man, y'all heard what she said, man. Y'all heard what Mark said. And while we are relaxing, while we are showing some patience, or while we're, heavily working the quarterback and talent channels to figure out who's going to be our signal caller, y'all just make sure you hit that like button one time for the coach. Don't forget to subscribe, notification bell as well. And even though it's the off season, we here. We gonna keep this thing rolling. So don't go anywhere. All right. But until next time, baby, y'all stay safe. And we appreciate y'all. Peace.
Bye.